How's it going, everybody? This is Alex Caceres, and you're listening to Story of the Fight.
What up, everybody? Welcome to Story of the Fight. We had UFC 281. Ramiro's not here today because he's got a job, and for some reason his career is more important than this show. But that's okay because we got friend of the show, Andrew Toasty.
What's up, guys?
MMA, filling in for him. Thank you for doing this last minute. What I text you like yesterday?
Hey, it's just like my fight career, bro. It's just like my fight career. Everything's last minute.
Like, hey, the guy you're supposed to fight pulled out. I know the fight's tomorrow, but
hey, dude, there was supposed to be a fight an hour ago. You think you could fight right now?
Yeah.
Fuck it.
Yeah. But welcome, everybody. Let's see. If you like our content, obviously like, subscribe, do all that stuff. Do it now if you're here because we'll have like 10 people in the chat all seemingly liking the show, and then all of a sudden you look back and it's like, hey man, the numbers don't match up. So like it. If you don't want to watch, you can listen to us on Spotify, Google Podcast, Breaker, Radio Public, Apple Podcasts, pretty much everywhere. We're on social media too. It's at Story of the Fight on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Reddit, Twitch, everywhere. Just Story of the Fight. Go to storyofthefight.com. It'll list everything.
Try Google first. That's usually a good place.
Yeah, exactly. Shout out HLB Comer saying, what multiverse is this? Yeah, the show looks a little different. I'm on the other side. Ramiro's gone.
Ramiro's camera's just on really bright.
Yeah, exactly. Shout out Regen saying, I always like bro. And I believe him because he's always here. But yeah, we can just get into it.
Long card. Got to get right into it.
Yeah, long card. 14 fights. We're going to skip just a couple of them just for time's sake because it's going to be a long one. Sorry if I sound like this. I am sick, But yeah, we can move right into it. Shout out Andrew. If you haven't seen the interviews that we've done with him in the past, go back and watch them. Friend of the show. HLV Comer says, where's my beautiful boy Miro? Welcome, Mr. Toasty. Ramiro decided his job is more important than this. So, I mean, that shows where his loyalty lies. But
I wouldn't have made that decision.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, I have a job too, but here I am. You know what I mean? But yeah, UFC 281. Alex Pereira versus Israel Adesanya. We'll get right into it. Obviously, a ton of hype going into this one because of their backstory. The first time they fought in kickboxing, Alex Pereira beat him by decision. It was close. It was a toss-up. Some people have Izzy. Some people have Adesanya. The second time they fought, Izzy hurt him real bad. Got him in the standing 8 count. Pretty much out on his feet, but he made it. So fight continues. And then Pereira knocks him out cold. So 2-0 against Izzy coming into this one. When he transitioned into MMA, everyone was like, "Oh man, what if he makes it all the way to Izzy and they do the rematch in MMA? What's gonna happen? All this stuff." And it happened, and here we are talking about it.
I mean, they definitely put a bit of a turbo boost on his rise to that, but
yeah.
Izzy did clear the pathway for that. So it is what it is.
Yeah, it makes it easier. That's what me and Ramiro always say. Like when there's a dominant champ like Izzy, who's kind of cleared out of division, like the bar gets lowered for what you need for a title shot. And I mean, Pereira had the right matchups, right? Where, I mean, honestly, his first fight against Nicolae, it was kind of clear that he was the better fighter, but stylistically, they like kind of gave him a grappler in his first fight, and I was like, why are you doing that? But he passed the test, right? And then the slugfest with Bruno Silva, and then the big leap in the rankings against Sean Strickland. I don't know why Sean Strickland took that fight.
Ego. Ego's a big killer in this game.
Yeah. I mean, he puts on like the tough guy mentality, right? So he's not going to turn down a fight. But Pereira knocks him out with the left hook like he does everybody. And then here we are. So 4 fights into his MMA career. Yeah, he had 1 MMA fight, and the UFC was like, "Get him. We need somebody to fight Izzy." And then it kind of happened. But the fight, I mean, Izzy, it was an interesting fight because in that first round, Izzy was kind of making Pereira guess on everything, where like anytime he would throw a feint, Pereira's reacting big to it. Izzy was doing this thing where he threw his jab like 3 different ways. Like here's one way where it's almost like a back fist jab. A couple other times he'd throw like the really sharp jab, like he's trying to punch through him. And then other times he would punch kind of like 8 inches away from his face with the jab. And because Pereira kept blocking high out, I mean, you can see it right here. His hands are out in front. He's not like shelling up, right, to block anything.
He almost looked like Sean Strickland. Alex did the whole first round. It was super weird.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Izzy would throw that jab like a foot away from his face, and he would try to parry it or block it out, and it set up the 2 behind it where he'd throw the right hand over the top, and he landed it like a few times in the first round. Was it the first round that he like hurt him at the end of it? I think it was.
Yeah. And the hook at the end was like 100% like a second or 2 afterwards.
True, and here's where the bias shows. Shout out George. I'm late. Special guest host. Yeah. #gang. We got the Geek Squad in the building. But yeah, at the end, that left hook, he rocked him with the right hand. He was kind of like out his
bad.
He like
standing 8 count.
Yeah, exactly. Would have been a standing 8 count. He sprung back up and is looking the completely wrong way, and then gets hit with the left hook after the bell. But to be fair, and this is where the bias will show, like I said, shout out DL, putting the heart in the comments. But if I didn't like Izzy, I would be like, fuck that guy, man. He lands his left hook way after the bell. But when I like a guy, the rules state you don't fight to the buzzer. You fight till the ref stops you.
Yeah.
So,
but also
I'll give him a pass.
He had that cocked for sure. It's not like he had decided that before the bell.
Yeah, 100%. That's like, it wasn't like was it Jermaine Durandamy versus Holly Holm?
Oh,
like
wow.
2 rounds.
Yeah.
She like throwing full combos.
It's all like arm. No.
Yeah. But yeah, so second round, it's like, okay, well, Izzy took the first round. How's Pereira going to react to that? And he started landing a good jab, and he got this takedown, which I was like, whoa, that's the training with Glover.
Yeah.
But you could tell once he got the takedown, he was like, what do I do on top? This is not a position that I'm used to.
Yeah, the 2 biggest notes I made through the whole fight was in the first round. I said, like, I made a lot of notes through the whole thing. But the 2 biggest notes I made through the fight, the first round was like, every time Izzy puts his back up against the cage and comes off, he gets hit every single time. It may have not been like a bunch of combos, but he got hit every time. And then the second one was neither one of them, like, as soon as they got to the ground, you could see the holes. Like, it was very apparent, like, where they were placing their hands, where they weren't placing their hands, when they weren't, and when they were fighting hands and stuff like that, going to get wrist locks and fight grips away. There was a whole lot of not seeing stuff should have happened.
Not knowing what to do. Yeah. Shout out Regent says, imagine that shot after the bell stopped Alex. Man, Izzy would have gotten so much hate. Yeah, that would have been insane. If that dropped him that left hook. Yeah, Regent says the grappling was tough to watch. It's like it's the opposite. When 2 strikers grapple, it's sometimes pretty brutal to watch. Whereas like when 2 wrestlers cancel out their grappling and they have no striking, and they cancel out their grappling, and all of a sudden they're just clacking each other. Like the first Colby versus Usman fight, very like basic striking. They're like kind of throwing their jabs and their 1-2s, but they were just cracking each other because neither of them have striking defense, but they couldn't wrestle each other. It's like the complete opposite. There's a picture too. So second round goes to Pereira, right? Because the grappling, I think, but he lands some good shots too on the feet. But then the third round, Izzy comes out with his wrestling, takes him down. Izzy was doing the thing where he would clinch up, get the over underhook, and just lock his grips. And he tried a couple trips, but he was kind of getting chewed up in that position too, because he was going for the control where Pereira was kind of landing those knees to the body, which were pretty nasty. But
Every time he
eventually,
got grabbed, he was like body, body, body. Whether it was his
yeah,
hands or his knees, he was always hitting the body.
yeah, and when Izzy did get the takedown, here's what we're talking about, where he kind of had him in like that side saddle position on back mount, and before this he was reaching and he had 2-on-1 on that far side, that the hand that's down, so Pereira couldn't like post with it, but he was just
Yeah,
kind of like trying to stand up, where it's like anybody who's been in that position knows your legs are just completely killed. Like
yeah,
you try to like, because you're on your shins kind of, and you're just that weight on your hips, you just can't stand up. Your legs just don't work.
at all.
And he was just kind of like, I'm just gonna keep trying to stand up. And Izzy was like, I'm just gonna keep controlling this hand, and I guess I got this.
Yeah,
Uh,
and another bad look is like the whole reaching for the hand to try to stop it instead of like
yeah,
blocking your own face or moving your hips and shifting your legs out and like
yeah.
changing where weight positions are and stuff like that. There's just a whole lot of only choosing one thing to do, and the one thing he chose was like, oh no, hand is coming at my head.
Like, don't punch me. Uh,
Yeah,
Shout
bad
out
luck.
HLB Comer says that KO is in the air tonight. Alex has 1 power, 2 Izzy's number. There were 3 Wakanda Kings once, only 1 left now.
Oh,
And that
dude,
one
good
is about
shout
to
out.
lose.
Stop taking pictures. Stop taking pictures in the back when you're all dressed up as the same, because it doesn't work out for you guys every time.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, to be fair, is Alex got the win, right? But Izzy he was 3 rounds up going into the 5th. So Alex has his
No-
number with the results, but it's not like Izzy can't beat him. I think Izzy can beat him.
Going across three or two sports, 3 fights as well. It's like you add up all the rounds. It's what's Izzy's up 12 rounds to maybe like 15 or something like that. That's insane.
Yeah, I
He
mean,
can beat him.
he can definitely beat him. That 4th round was kind of interesting because it looked like kind of both of them were taking it off a little bit. Um, I mean, with Pereira, he can do that because all he needs is 1, right?
Hmm.
I mean, Izzy proved that he could hurt Pereira, but it's just different. That like HLB Comer says, the power is just completely different. He landed the left hook a couple times, but I thought Izzy. It's funny, man. I was like watching it, like when you said Izzy, when he would get his back up against the fence, he was getting hit. He
Hmm.
got hit with a stiff jab, and then a couple times he ate the left hook, and I was like, man, Izzy's got just like an all-time great chin to take these shots. And and then in the 5th round, he ate the left hook again and just could not hold on.
I mean, he didn't fall. Like I was talking to somebody, I
Yeah,
was doing cardio with my boy Chad. Like right here, this is my argument for like against the stoppage is like he
yeah,
may have been looking down and trying to be defensive, but like we've seen
he was
boxers and
rolling.
other fighters do things like this, but his hips were never below his knees. Like he at any point in time here could have exploded out with a hook, could have extended out and grabbed him. Like you got to give the champion a chance here. Like and
Yeah,
just in general, refs in general right now, I think just stop fights a little bit too early.
yeah, I think so too. Regen says it looked to me like if Alex had better cardio, he could just come forward, out Izzy on the fence, and finish him. Yeah, he definitely Izzy struggled on the fence in this one.
A lot.
Because that's normally, and I don't know if it's because he's gotten used to being able to do that against MMA strikers,
I think
and
so.
it's been a while since he had like a legit striker have him in that position and know what to do. But I mean, he did a great job. I mean, like I said, he won the only round he lost was because of grappling. It wasn't even because of the
Correct.
striking. HLB Comer says, but he can't beat him. That's the whole point. Nobody cares about rounds 1 if you are knocked out at the end. I disagree. I think the whole fight matters. The result ultimately matters the most, but the whole fight, it doesn't erase anything. Like Usman's still a better fighter than Leon Edwards. I'm just gonna say it.
Correct.
Like, yeah, he got knocked out, but he's still a better fighter. But at the end of the day, Alex is a champ, and he finished him again.
Yeah. Technically.
Izzy is another size bully, just like Connor. He struggles if he doesn't have an advantage over you. Again, HLB Comer, I'm going to disagree because he was outstriking him the entire fight.
Kevin Gastelum was technically bigger than him. I mean, he's definitely not longer than
Just
him,
at the
but
range, yeah.
yeah. I mean, would you say that Kevin Gastelum got bullied by Izzy? I wouldn't say so.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's an interesting fight. I think they're probably going to do the immediate rematch, even though Robert
I think
Whittaker is
he deserves it more than Glover.
Yeah, he definitely deserves it more than Glover. Yeah. When you have the argument is like when you're a dominant champ, you have a ton of title defenses, you kind of get that immediate rematch. But the real answer is if
He
you're a
cleared
big
out the
enough
division.
draw. Well, no, the real answer at the end of the day is if you're a big enough draw, then you're going to get the immediate rematch. So
Sure.
I think
Connor.
yeah, exactly. So I think he's going to get the immediate rematch. Even though Robert Whittaker maybe kind of deserves to fight Pereira, but I don't know. HB Comer says doesn't matter. Same as the last Cheeto fight. You can win rounds against him, but you can't win the fight. I get that point honestly, because there's certain guys who do have that game plan of either setting up traps and willing to lose rounds to set those traps, and if they can get the finish, it works out for them. And there's some guys who try that and it doesn't work for them, and there's some guys who do that and it does work for them, like Cheeto, like Pereira. I don't know, but I could watch these guys fight. It's the most entertaining Izzy fight in a long time, and I could watch them fight like 10
But
times a year.
that's because of the opponent. I mean, how many opponents of his are willing to just go forward? Cannonier wasn't willing to just go forward. The only one, again,
True.
Kevin Gastelum.
Yeah, exactly. It takes a certain guy to bring a fun fight out of Izzy because the gap is usually pretty far. Regen says, with some adjustments, I can easily see Izzy winning the next one. He fought beautifully and made a few mistakes that cost him.
I think the adjustments would be just listening to his coaches, because I think that he, at the end of his fights, likes to sort of, or just like in general, has like these spots where he likes to do Izzy, and they're great and everything, but at the same time, I don't think Eugene Behrman would have liked too much of him having his back against the cage the whole fight.
Yeah, and I think watch the rematch come out and Izzy's just like shooting from across the cage. It's just, but HB Comer says y'all are just some Izzy nut huggers. Look, man,
Yes.
I am honestly, but I also really like Pereira, and I was just happy this fight happened, and like, these are the best types of rivalries when it's not just like look, I'm a DC fanboy, right? Because I mean, working in Gilroy, you see him all the time. You get to talk to him. I helped him put together a gaming PC because he wanted to get VR when Luke Rockhold showed it to him. But John Jones had his number, and it's a rivalry, right? But the fights weren't close. It's cool to have a rivalry when the fights are close, when one guy's beating him for the whole fight and then gets finished, or like it's just much more entertaining for I don't know. If you're a fan of Adesanya, you should be a fan of Izzy or Pereira because it makes Adesanya fight better, and you can look forward to better matchups. Like, it's one thing to watch someone just style on somebody, but when you actually see somebody get tested, it's just way better.
I mean, I'm definitely happy that the division's opened up, even though it is going to get sort of locked up with this rematch. But you know, it is what it is.
And then if Izzy beats him in the rematch, then you got a trilogy, and then the division's on hold for how long?
No, I think at that point you move on to something else. You give Alex somebody else to just satiate the division.
Yeah.
All right, next one.
Yeah, we can move on. Omar, shout out Omar, says my jaw dropped seeing that finish. I was less frozen like Elsa. Yeah, not a quote that ages well.
Dude, I said this morning. Like, you got to watch out what you say in some of these interviews, man, because karma will come back and fucking bite you.
Yeah. HW Comer says, I'm just saying that Alex is 3-0. Talking about how Izzy could beat him is just delusional right now. Again, I'm going to disagree because it should be 2-1. I thought Izzy won the first time. I mean, to just look at the results and say that they paint the whole story, not accurate.
It's a little weird to say like he can't when like we live in a world where like, you know, the journalist Mike Jackson has a win.
Yeah.
And you know, like Matt Serra beat GSP. Like, we live in a weird matrix where like anything can happen. Nobody thought Amanda Nunes was going to beat Chris Cyborg, and it happened, and turned out that she is the greatest female fighter in the world. So
yeah. Moving on, we got the other title fight on the card. We got Zhang Weili versus Carla Esparza, and this
I lost your audio. I can't hear anything.
No, I don't know if anybody can still hear me. Might be your headphones, Toasty. I'll keep working, or I'll keep talking just in case people can't hear me.
Will, I can hear you, and I believe you're going through on YouTube also.
Okay.
You were mentioning Zhang Weili.
What?
Yeah. Let's see. So Zhang Weili versus Carla Esparza. I was pretty positive on this one. The most confident I've been on a pick in a long time. It sucks that Ramiro's gone for this one because he was like, man, this is going to be a really competitive fight. And I was like, I don't know, man. This is going to be a tough one. He was like, really? You think so? You think all this stuff that Carla Esparza has done, we're going to have like her just get steamrolled? And I was like, yeah, probably.
Got it.
You
and
back,
then
you back,
you got
Toasty?
me, Toasty?
Oh, he's out.
Oh,
I think,
there he
yeah, I
goes.
think he accidentally quit that.
Yeah.
Can you remind me, Carla Esparza's history up until this match? I feel like Zhang Weili is more in my mind, but not Carla.
Yeah, so Carla, I mean, while Zhang Weili was fighting like the top, she's in title fights,
Mhm.
she's defending her belt, she's taking the belt, all this stuff. Carla Esparza put together a really good win streak where she beat Jandiroba, she beat Alexa Grasso, she beat Michelle Watterson, Marina Rodriguez, Yan Xiaonan. So she put together like a really good streak. And then she beat Rose Namajunas for the belt in kind of like a weird, like, nothing really happened, and she did slightly more in the way the rounds broke out. So, like, she got the belt. She won the belt. She's a champ. But Zhang Weili is cut from a different cloth, and she's a fucking tank. And props to Carla Esparza. I thought her grappling looked pretty damn good in this one. Obviously, it's always going to. There were some really, really fun scrambles, but really outside of those scrambles, it was pretty much all Zhang Weili kind of just...
Toasty, are you back?
Yeah, I'm back. I'm good.
Woo.
Okay.
I see myself
yeah.
on the screen, so I thought I was back on the screen. My bad.
HLB Comer says, my favorite line was Anik during the introductions. Esparza is an expert in energy conservation. Yeah,
Bro, she sucked my energy out with that walkout. That was the slowest thing I have ever experienced. I went to the bathroom and came back. I was like, are they in the same spot?
Yeah. She moved. It's always funny.
Slower than the Undertaker walkout.
Yeah, Regen says they did their best to sell Carla during fight week. It's like when there's a guy who has been in the UFC for a long time and has never been ranked, and all respect to them, but the UFC, the only way they can really sell him is like, this guy's a really crafty veteran. And it's like, that's all they'll give him, It's like he's so much experience that he really knows how to be in there. And it's like, you're not really saying much about him. You're just saying he's been there.
I think the UFC, Anik, all of them, they have a lot of experience. And they'll just pull on like anytime they had to call a DJ fight. And they're like, I mean, his opponent's really got this one chance. They turn the mic off. He's got no fucking chance.
Yeah, he's got no chance. He's fighting the GOAT. But yeah, really fun scrambles in this fight. It was cool to see all the transition and stuff on the ground. But Zhang Weili is just a beast, man. She when she mounted her, transitioned to the crucifix, and I was like, oh my god, I can't think of, in this division, I can't think of a worse person to be in the crucifix. And I was just expecting the elbows to come through, and then she just set up the rear naked choke from the crucifix position. And I was like, man, I don't know if I've ever seen in the UFC, at least, definitely not in a title fight, someone land a rear naked choke from the crucifix position. But she locked it up. I think Carla probably thought she was safe. I don't think she expected to get choked from that position, and just got choked in that position.
I don't know. I think it might be a little bit of that whole like stoic conservative energy. I think she was worried the whole time, but she just has like this poker face of like having the same exact expression all the time. Now, I did notice like she almost got caught in that crucifix at the very beginning of the fight, and I was like, oh no, and she got out of it real quick, and I was like, oh, if she gets stuck there again, this is bad. And then like immediately they started scrambling, and I was like, oh no, it's happening again. It's happening, and then she got right there, and I was like, this is not going to end well. I thought what you said, like she's going to get opened up, almost like how Carla did to
was it Yan Xiaonan?
Yeah, where she just opened her up with those elbows. I thought
that's
that
my
was
favorite Carla fight.
Yeah, pretty much. And I thought that's pretty much how this was going to end. And then I was like, yeah, she did her a favor, almost like Khabib did to Justin or Dustin or whoever it was.
It was Gaethje, yeah. Omar says for 115, there are now 3 active fighters who won the belt at least 2 times. Yeah,
And this is the second time Carla wasn't able to defend her title.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean it's just crazy that Carla got her belt twice from Rose. But Regen says it looked like her forearm was crushing Carla's throat. Instant tap. Yeah, it was a nasty choke. She locked it up.
It was definitely like a esophagus more than like a blood choke. Like she couldn't physically like bring in air to her lungs.
Yeah,
not her brain.
I mean it's got to be pretty sore this morning. But when she started setting up the choke, I was like, oh, that's nasty. But that's probably going to be more uncomfortable than like an actual finish. And then when she locked it up, actually, I was like, oh no, she's gonna tap for sure to that. And yeah, she did. Zhang Weili, man, she's fun to watch.
Super fun. She makes fights fun to watch. Like you know, you could compare Rose and Carla's last fight to this one. Like like they said on the commentary, immediately 30 seconds into the fight, they already had more strikes than the Rose fight.
Yeah. Yeah, I think with Rose's game plan in that Carla fight, the second one, the most recent one, it was I mean, look how tight that is. But Rose you could tell the whole game plan was don't let her get close and grapple you. Because like her top game is so dominant that like you'll just get stuck there and lose the round. And in this one, Zhang Weili was like, I'm just gonna embrace that and I'm gonna beat you there too. And just went through it. So yeah, like I said, Zhang Weili's cut from a different cloth. She's a tank. You see the video of her picking up Francis
Ngannou? Yeah. I sent you that meme of like the typical dude just watching it, just laughing, and then like immediately, oh no.
Yeah. Oh geez.
That's Carla.
Says, yeah. People trying to push Rose for a third title fight. She needs to get back in line. Yeah. Rose needs to.
It's a short line, so
it is a short line. But
it's a very short line
in that division. It's
Oh, they have those.
So
the UFC doesn't do a good job of like filling out their division, bro. It's so sad because there's so much good talent out there, and they just choose not to fill their roster with like fighters on the female side. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's weird. Amanda Lemos just got a big win over Marina Rodriguez. She's ranked number 3. I don't know if they're going to do Lemos versus Thug Rose for a number one contender fight. I wouldn't be mad at that, to be honest. But I would like to see Lemos just get a title shot after beating Rodriguez in the top 5. Just let her go, and then Rose can beat or fight somebody else. The problem is like there's nobody else really up and coming to try to knock onto that top 5. So what they'll probably do is probably just give Rose a title shot. But rankings wise, maybe they just do Lemos versus Rose for the number 1 contender fight. I just don't know what they're gonna do. Omar says Yan versus Weili in China. Weili needs a win, Weili needs a win. Yan Xiaonan needs a win, I think, right? What was her last fight? Oh no, she beat Mackenzie Dern. I forgot about that.
Also,
I don't know.
Real quick on these 2 title fights, like Dana, why are you giving the champions who just got paid pay-per-view money and like all this shit $50K for bonuses? When
this guy's like,
bro, I could name so many people on this card who deserved a bonus. Gutierrez deserved a bonus. Hooker deserved a bonus. Moicano deserved a bonus. Blanchfield deserved a bonus. I don't like Spann too much. He deserved a bonus. Like even though he can't get it because he missed weight, whatever. Frevola.
Frevola deserved a bonus.
Like, come on, man.
Yeah, you're giving the champs $50K when it's like a drop in the bucket for him. When there's like guys fighting like $20,000 contracts, it'd be like life changing in the bonus. Moicano wants money. Yeah, we'll talk about that. That interview was great, but I think since I forgot Yan Xiaonan got that win over Mackenzie Dern, maybe you do Yan Xiaonan versus Thug Rose, and then you just give Amanda Lemos a title shot against Zhang Weili. That's a violent
I don't hate
fight.
it. And then you can go Carla versus Rodriguez.
Yeah, probably. HLB Comer says every finish deserves a bonus, and I could not agree more. I think.
Well, that's hard to do when you have the record for most first-round finishes on a card.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like Dana says, you have any idea what that would do to our budget? It's like not much.
Not much. Yeah. Well, I mean, you also did just start a whole other company about people slapping each other. Can't even get Zuffa boxing off the ground.
I know, yeah. Let's see. So we'll move on. Zhang Weili, it's cool she's got
To
the
the
belt again. I think she's a fun champion.
to the
But the fight of the night,
well-deserved fight of the night. This
yeah,
one, I have no complaints about you giving them a performance bonus. My word.
yeah, 100%, 100%. Dustin Poirier versus Michael Chandler. It's one of those fights where, like, on paper, there's some fights where on paper, you're like, man, this is going to be a banger no matter what. And then it kind of turns into like a snooze fest, right? Derek Lewis versus Francis Ngannou. But
Yoel Powell.
yeah, but then there's some fights
Where you
where,
should have paid him yesterday.
yeah, where you're like, there's no way on paper this is going to be boring. And you're like, yeah, but sometimes that doesn't work out. And then it's like, no, but not this one. This one's going to deliver. And it delivered. It was fucking
Yeah.
crazy. That first round was wild. That first round was
Absolutely wild.
crazy. So Dustin versus Chandler. Chandler comes out. Dustin's going into this. Dustin was saying, "Yeah, Chandler makes up for his lack of footwork with his explosivity, right? Like he's super.
Yeah.
He can leap into these shots. He throws that lunging left hook really well. But I was like, okay, so Dustin's defense is really good, and he's expecting to see everything coming. And in that first minute, Chandler put it to him. He cracked him a few times up against the cage where I was like, oh no, because I'm a huge Dustin fan, like way too big of a Dustin fan. HLB Comer says you could tell the moment where Chandler finally lost it and it cost him the fight. Shortly, the knockdown where he swings wildly and misses. Yeah, so
that was a big note of mine.
This is
was
the
like,
big, yeah.
Was his misses. Like Chandler loves to throw power, but at the end of the fights, there were a couple of them where he threw big power and missed, and then took a step back and took a big breath. And like, if he hadn't done that at the beginning, there was a lot of those big whiffs that he made that like could have been, making it through that bit.
Yeah, and you'll hear certain guys like Teddy Atlas talks about how there's fighters and then there's finishers. There's certain guys that are just straight up finishers. And Chandler, I mean, to his credit, he has some great finishes, but he's just there's something about it. I wouldn't class him as a finisher. Like, obviously, yeah, it sounds stupid, right? Because he starts Dan Hooker, all these things, but anybody could have knockout power, and it's just given to them, right? They just have knockout power. But then there's other guys who just can finish fights, and you saw that kind of in the first round where Chandler had Dustin hurt a few times, and like you said, he just starts digging deep and throwing hooks, just trying to take this guy out. And Dustin stayed very composed. He ended up having to shoot on it, but he's slipping. Like he's got a fun kind of like adapted Philly shell, like cross guard style that kind of works well for him in MMA. And yeah, he kind of sees them all coming because he's just throwing these looping shots, and Chandler just couldn't really get him out of there. And we've seen it before where Chandler hurts somebody and he can't quite finish it. Whereas Dustin, man, when he hurts you, yeah, exactly. When Dustin hurts you, he makes it a point to get you out of there. And credit to Chandler, he survived that first round because the tide kind of turned, where Dustin ended up hurting him at the end of the round and stealing the round. Honestly,
I don't believe that. I think he definitely still lost that round.
It's like, close. It's definitely easier to score. It's easier to let the end of a round like affect your scoring of the round.
But they were both hurt equally.
Yeah.
Like they both were as close to being finished as each other, but through the first, 4, maybe 3.5 minutes of the fight, that was all Chandler. Yeah. And I think that had a lot to do with the fact that I sort of sent you a message about this. Dustin hasn't had a 3-round fight in 7 years.
Yeah.
Whereas Chandler just lost one. He just lost one to
shout out to Ramiro.
Whoever it was,
Gaethje.
So he understands like these first 2 rounds are important, and I think Dustin sort of took almost like the first 3 minutes of both round 1 and round 2 off. He took a lot of shots he didn't need to take.
Feel this out.
And I think he expected to have more time, and then coming into the third, his coaches in the corner, same thing to Alex in the corner, like, just bro, you only have 1 round. You realize this? You gotta only You've only got 5 more minutes. You got to do it.
Yeah, and I want to say too. Let's see who said it in the comments. Let's see. George Shout out George. He said, I think Chandler going for that first takedown was a bad move. I was like, so he has Dustin hurt against the cage in the first round. He's landing big shots. He's rocked Dustin.
Mhm.
He had a time where Dustin was looking straight up in this guy. And then he shoots for a takedown. And the whole commentary booth was like, wow, what a great decision there by Chandler to take
Yeah.
him down in that moment. And it's like, he might have finished him if he didn't take him down. It was close. He had him
Dustin
really
even
hurt.
said so.
Yeah.
He said that if he was throwing more straights instead of loops, he probably would have got me out of that first.
Yeah. And he shot for the takedown, and I was like, man. I mean, obviously, when you're in there, and maybe he felt himself gassing out, and he's like, I can't really throw more shots here, so I'm gonna shoot for this takedown.
Or maybe his thought is like just to change his mind. Like even if maybe you just shot in, got to his hips, and then got back out and started throwing again. Yeah. But you know, again, like you said, it's hard to think about that when you're like in that moment.
Yeah, and in the second round, Chandler said, fuck this, because he got hurt at the end of that first round, and he probably still was recovering when the second round started. And he immediately shoots in, gets a nice takedown, takes us back at one point. Can you go back, Rich, a couple pictures where
100% HB Comer.
Yeah, HB Comer says he definitely shot to not gas. Yeah, I think
100%.
So too.
That's an old school wrestling thing. Like as soon as a round starts, if you're tired and someone's shooting, like not at the first round, the very first round of a wrestling match, if you're taking a shot, that's just what you do. But if you know you've done a lot of action after that first round, maybe the second round, you're going into the third. If somebody's taking an initial shot, it's because they are tired. That is all they got.
Yeah, definitely. HB Comer says, and also at that point he didn't go totally crazy yet, and was still following the game plan. Agreed. I think the game plan. I mean, if I was Chandler's coaches, the game plan would be this is going to be a wrestling heavy fight. Because you saw it with the second round, Chandler takes him down, and I mean, he has the control for the entire round, I think. I don't remember what the control time was, but he that was the path to victory in this fight. I don't think
I think his big mistake there though was that big slam. Like he didn't spend all that energy.
Yeah, so in the second round, he shoots on him right, gets a double leg, takes him down, lands some shots to the back of the head.
A lot of shots to the back of the head.
Yeah, snots a bunch of blood clots into Dustin's mouth in his guard. It was like out of Fight Club where he's like he literally blew his nose full of blood onto Dustin's face. That was fucking crazy. But then the third round started. And in the third round, Rich, there's a picture of Chandler walking with Dustin just like 10 feet up in the air above him. And that I think that's the one you're talking about, right? Where I mean, man, we're in the okay. Well,
in the second round, he does that double leg and
big power double.
Yeah. Like he could have just taken like those little bits where he's spending too much energy for not enough reward. But again, also that where he does like a la DC Dan Hendo.
Yeah, this picture where he's walking across the cage with Dustin up over his shoulder, like fireman carry, right, about to slam him. In the third round of a fight where the pace is that crazy, we don't need that, right? And you saw it when he picked him up to finally dump him. Dustin immediately used that separation when he could have just had a controlling takedown and followed him down with them to the mat. Instead, there's this big distance between them where Dustin's able to post up and then take his back and immediately get the body triangle in. And as soon as he did it, Omar says Chandler focused more on the entertainment. Those slams ain't worth it. Not in that type of a fight. Not worth it in that type of a fight because then Dustin ends up taking his back. And it was funny with Islam Makhachev saying that someone needs to take Dustin's black belt like a couple days ago, saying like, how's he a black belt? And Dustin took that personally and then got the.
He takes a lot of stuff personally. He self-motivates very well.
Does.
Like the whole concept of he went into his own stats is like I've never lost 2 fights in a row. I'm not doing this one. Like that's something that like some weird NFL announcer John Anik would like find.
Yeah. And so Dustin gets the win, right? He gets the rear naked choke, which is awesome. It was a great finish. The controversy though, because Dustin, the entire post-fight interview in the cage is just staring Chandler down, and he could tell he was like
shouting at Dan.
Yeah, he was pissed, and it's because this was one of the dirtiest fights I've seen in a long time. Since who was it? Tim Elliott fought. Who did Tim Elliott fight? Ulanbekov, where he's like, you're like grabbing the fence, headbutts, eye pokes, like literally everything. You grabbing the gloves, like every type of way you could cheat, he was doing it. In this one,
just one or two of them, so he didn't get points taken.
exactly. You get the warnings. You get a one
The
foul per
dentist.
category. Michael the dentist Chandler. But so throughout the fight, Chandler cracks him a few good times on the back of the head, right in front of the ref. Not even close to the side of the head. They were brutal. And if anybody hasn't been smacked in the back, like literally just a smack in the back of the head will like flash you. Like I can't imagine taking a Michael Chandler punch to the back of the head. Like that'd probably kill me.
Well, also like knockouts come from punches you don't see, and I don't know if any of you know this. Can't see that way.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way. But then the big one in that second round when Chandler had Dustin's back, and was it the second round? I think it was the second round.
I think it was the second round, yeah, because that's when he had his backpack for a very long time. He had all that control time. And he did sort of the same thing like 2 or 3 times where he would go down over the top and he would sort of in his mind, oh, I'm not looking, and I'm trying to grab the chin, but
and
like
pull it up.
But like, bro, you know what you're doing.
So he's got the chin. He's trying to get the choke, right? You want it under the neck, obviously, but he's like this. So he's trying to reach down, grab the chin, pull it up. Is what he's saying, right? To open up the neck so he can get the choke under it. But
Correct.
instead, he just goes straight fingers in the mouth, just straight hand in his mouth, gripping the top of his jaw to pull his head up.
Yeah, and that was the very first
gnarly.
time, and he got it. He got it in there and like ripped up his mouth, and then he tries to do it like 2 or 3 more times. And Dustin's like wise to it. He's just like tucking it in, and as soon as he gets his hands here, he's just like, no.
Yeah, he's like, hell no. HB Comer says if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. It's classic, right? But Chandler says it happened on accident. I don't know. I've spent not as much time as Chandler on the ground, but I've spent a decent amount of time on people's backs trying to sink in rear naked chokes. Not one time have I ever come close to getting my hand in their mouth on accident.
What this is the major difference between the attitude of like a grappler, like a BJJ guy, and a wrestler. Like as a wrestler watching this, you're like, I see what you're doing, buddy. Like you're just being grimy. Like this is wrestling. Like running your arm left and right as you do cross faces, digging your chin inside of the collarbone. Dude, checking oil is a big thing in wrestling. Like there are things you shouldn't be doing, but we do to get, the most advantage. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, sort of thing. But
it's definitely a mentality.
BJJ is a much different mindset. They don't want anything anywhere near the face or the mouth or anything like that. Whereas like wrestlers are doing the shit all the time.
And I get it from Chandler's perspective, right? He's come in now and he beat Dan Hooker, he beat Tony Ferguson, but he's lost now 3 big fights. So this is a big deal for him. He needs to get this win. And if he got the choke here and won, I don't know what would have been said about this. I don't know I'm sure Dustin would have protested immediately. But I don't know. At the end of the day, it didn't work. Dustin survived it, and then he ended up choking him out. So, but it was fight of the night. It was a crazy ass fight.
Well-deserved fight on the night.
Yeah, fun fight. Happy for Dustin though, because Dustin will always be my boy. Shout out to Thug Jitsu at the end there too. Fun stuff.
Congrats to the new partnership he has with the UFC. One of the few partnerships I actually enjoy.
Yeah, super cool with the hot sauce. So we'll move on to the saddest moment of the night.
Saddest moment of the night.
Going 43 minutes. Okay. Frankie Edgar versus Chris Gutierrez. God damn it.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
Frankie Edgar, I mean, look at him. He's like 41 years old now. I think they said, so Frankie Edgar was the lightweight champ. I don't know how the hell he was ever the lightweight champ. I think Frankie deserves way more respect than he gets. When he beat BJ Penn, it was 2010. It was 12 years ago where he got the belt in a division where he probably shouldn't have even been in, but there wasn't anything lower than 155. But I remember in high school when he got the belt, I wrote a paper on him. I guess that was 2010. I wrote an essay about how I don't know, big Frankie Edgar fan, obviously. So legend going out here for his final
fight. Even Bruce Buffer said it.
Yeah, that was so sick that Bruce Buffer, while he's announcing him, he's like, for the last time. Like, I was like, damn, that's sick. Frankie walking out to Biggie, kicking the door. But in this picture right here, you can see this was pretty much the whole thing. Gutierrez, his feints were so insane that he was just constantly putting Frankie Edgar out of position. And that's such not a Frankie move. Frankie's always normally very composed and very like in control of his body, but he was just all over the place because of Gutierrez.
He was biting on everything too.
Everything. And eventually he comes in. Gutierrez baits him in, right? Draws him in, lands the step in knee to drop him, to KO him. And I mean, got the knockout.
And Gutierrez was as sad as all of us were.
Dude, when he was sad, I gained a lot of respect for Gutierrez, honestly. I was already a big fan of Gutierrez. I think he's got a very fun style. His leg kicks are like insane. I don't think he's lost in the UFC yet, has he?
I don't think so.
I don't think so, but no, he lost in the Ultimate Fighter finale. Huh?
Oh, well, that counts.
Yeah, he lost in the Ultimate Fighter finale, but since then he has not won. And I agree here with HW Comer, and I think we've even talked about it on this show. He should have fought Dominick Cruz. UFC did him dirty on this one. I could not think of a better matchup than Frankie Edgar versus Dominick Cruz for his final fight, especially where they're both at. Like, what are we doing? Why? The UFC is just so hell-bent on
self-investment
and refusing to let somebody walk without getting something from them.
Yeah.
So you get Chris Gutierrez out here to get a win over a guy like Frankie Edgar to help promote him, right? Which is cool, but like it honestly it doesn't mean as much. So like it's kind of like an empty push. You know what I mean? Like Frankie Edgar before this, right? No one could finish him, right? But then you look at it, it's like, all right, well then Brian Ortega finished him. And then Korean Zombie finished him. And then Sandhagen finished him. And then Chito Vera finished him. And then now Chris Gutierrez. And it's like, it doesn't really mean as much now.
And this was a beautiful finish, but like, bro, how was this any better than the Corey Sandhagen one? Like,
it's the same thing.
Why would you, like, there's no winning here. There was no winning here. You 100% right. UFC does not, like, they care about themselves and then investing in the, like, younger guys. But, like, this is a bad investment. Bad investment.
Bad investment. It doesn't do much for Gutierrez, in my opinion, because like obviously he was going to win this fight. Shout out Regen. You said great show today. Got to run, guys. Have a good one. Take it easy. Thanks for always joining. But I don't know. It just doesn't mean anything. It means this fight really means nothing to me. It just doesn't.
Except sadness.
Which
means I'm ready to move on to the next one. A little bit more happiness.
Exactly. Yeah. Much more happiness because Dan Hooker. Back in the win column. Dan Hooker versus Claudio Puelles. I picked Claudio in this one because I thought, man, stylistically,
100%.
It's a terrible matchup for Dan Hooker stylistically. He's a savage on the ground. And Dan Hooker took that and said, don't you remember?
Burn the boats.
Yeah, he said, burn the boats. I'm coming out here for wins. And Dan Hooker's had a career where it's exciting. I've invested in him. I really like him. And sometimes it's hard being a Dan Hooker fan.
100%.
But moments like these, fights like these are why it's fun to be a Dan Hooker fan. Because, man, this was like Alan Belcher versus Husmar Paul Harris, where Puelles, you know what he wants to do. This is what he wants to do. He's going to come out there. He's going to try to knee bar you. I think he's got 2 knee bars back-to-back coming into this. He rolls on the Imanari roll, grabs the leg of Dan Hooker, and I was like, no. This is not good. And Dan Hooker didn't.
They were
pull out
super
right
dry too.
Yeah, it was right. It was right at the beginning. You know,
beautiful Imanari roll.
He couldn't pull his leg out. He ends up getting fully enveloped in it. His leg's deep. He switches to the heel hook. He switches from the heel hook back to the knee bar. And I was like, this is not good. You need to get out of there. And then he got out of there. He just was like, he sat up and was like, oh, I don't need to be in here. And then just pulled his leg out. And I was like, what? Like. You don't do that to a guy like Claudio. Like, when he gets that position, he gets your leg. He's going to get it.
Yep.
And then Dan Hooker said, no, I'm just going to stand up and then pick you apart, gas you out, and then outclass you.
Yeah, just beat that belly up as much as, like, acidic kickboxing tends to love to do. They love investing in the body, and Dan Hooker is, like, the biggest investor. He's he just loves picking
Throws
at the
that
body, and
straight
he
to the
did it.
body, and then the left hook up top. Oh God,
Yep.
it's just so good. In this fight, he was like, "Who needs a jab? I'm just gonna throw my 2-3 combo. I'll just throw the cross first, and then the left hook. I don't even need to jab this guy." Because Claudio just
Something that
looked.
was go for it.
No, he just looked stuck. He just didn't know what to do on the feet. He was just puzzled.
I think something that was super smart that I don't know if it was Dan or Eugene that had this game plan, but if you watch the whole fight, Dan never throws anything more than like two strikes
Yeah.
together. Like he was defensive, but he was never like not offensive to be defensive. The whole time he stood base, and he was only throwing enough to like keep him active so that
And
Claudia
then he disengaged.
wasn't able to just like get away and then come in super quick or jump to that Imanari roll the one time he did, or a couple times he did.
Yeah.
So like I think that whole singular kind of combination, but not just one strike, was super smart the whole fight.
Yeah, no extended combos. HLB Comer says Claudio got exposed. He needs to go away for 2 years, work on a stand up and drop a weight class. Yeah, you got to be able to adapt. If game plan number 1 doesn't work, you have to be able to adapt. And he just couldn't. And part of that is because Dan Hooker fought expertly, but yeah, you have to. You can't just be the. I mean, look how long it takes Ryan Hall in between fights, because he knows you cannot just be out there rolling for a leg, because once you don't get it, that's it. If that's all you got, it's not going to work. But yeah, very impressive by Dan Hooker, because he went into the fire. He went into the position where you cannot go against Claudio, but he survived it and then got the finish. Also, please, let's get soccer kicks and knees to the ground, knees to the head on the ground. Like, Jesus Christ, man. Watching this fight, I was like, dude, you can't, if we're pretending like this is a fight, like, you can't do that shit in a real fight. So like the UFC is always like, this is as close as it gets to a real fight. No bullshit boxing rules where you can't kick or wrestle, all this stuff. It's like, stop advertising like that if you don't allow this, because come on. Yeah, HLB Comer says, how did Hooker make featherweight? No fucking clue. Can't be fun though.
No, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Let's see. So we'll move on. We're at 50 minutes, so we're probably going to try to breeze through some of these ones. Renato Moicano versus Brad Riddell headlined the prelims. How can you not be a Renato Moicano fan?
Especially after that interview at the end. My word, dude.
His energy is fucking crazy. He just seems so happy and just like he's going 150 miles an hour. His fight against RDA, he proved how tough he was, all this stuff, right? And you just want to see him get a win. And then he comes in here and, I mean, just steamrolls Brad Riddell, who's supposed to be he's a striking coach at City Kickboxing. He's not supposed to get outstruck by Renato Moicano.
Yeah. Granted, Brad, like it's the second I started writing notes, I was like, Brad looks off tonight. Like he just doesn't look like he wants.
He looked really off.
He didn't look like he wanted to fight today. Like he
looks like he just woke up.
Yeah, like he woke up and he was like, "Oh, today's just not the day today."
He looked like growing up when like Saturday morning came around and I had to like mow the lawn or something, and I was just out there just like, God, just get it, just through this.
I'm doing it.
Yeah, but Moicano came out looking to get back in the
ready
column. Yeah, he looked so sharp. He was throwing. He wasn't just throwing. Like he was throwing different attacks. Brad Riddell really didn't know what to expect, and then hurts him and then takes his back and sinks it. Once he took his back out, like there's no way. There's
Absolutely
no way Brad Riddell escapes Moicano's back mount.
And another example of like Brad not really being in it was it's sort of like what the commentary is saying, and sort of what Izzy and Alex sort of showed. Like there's no hand fighting. There was no grabbing at post. There was no getting off your hand. There was none of that.
He just was kind of like, oh, you have my back now? Oh, are you working for a choke now? Oh, you're choking me. It was kind of just like, yeah. But, I mean, shout out to Moicano.
The post fight is the most exciting part of that fight. Wow.
Yeah. He just goes so hard, dude. Like the whole, on ESPN at least, the whole interview was bleeped. Couldn't hear anything he was saying.
We heard everything on my side because I was watching the non
US
censored version. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
That was wow, bro. There was so many MEFers in there, dude. It was great.
I like
the kiss to Joe's head seemed to be the thing last night.
Yeah, he's like, I love your podcast. I watch it every day. Like
I think at one point he said Joe Rogan gets bitches. I think he said that.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, he's always fun. I mean, Moicano's fun, man. He's a fun guy. But yeah, Brad Riddell, I don't know. There's something off for sure. I don't want to take
Mhm.
anything away from Moicano because it was such a great
Oh
performance.
yeah,
Maybe that's what it is.
he
Maybe
would.
he was like, he wanted a feeling out process, and Moicano said, "Hell no, I'm coming
I also
straight
think
at you."
Moicano would have beat just about anybody on the card that night.
Dude, he was on point. He looked in great shape. He had a ton of energy. He found his range immediately. Yeah, he just looked good. Shout out to Moicano.
Yep. On to the next one.
Yeah, moving on. We got like 5-10 minutes to cover the rest. Ryan Spann versus Dominick Reyes. Well, they're all quick fights. So, Ryan Spann versus Dominick Reyes. Man, Dominick Reyes. It's
Fire your management team.
hey, well, don't do that. But shout out to Upgrade Management. But Dominick Reyes, man, since fighting John Jones, arguably beating John Jones, since then he has lost to Jan Blachowicz, which no slouch. Jan Blachowicz, especially on that night, the kicks to the body, the left hook, I mean, just fantastic. Then he fights Yidri Prochazka. Jeez Louise. Yidri Prochazka. I mean, and he looked very good in that Yidri fight. He just got completely overwhelmed.
I just don't think he's at light heavyweight. He in this fight specifically, he looks so small, and he looks smaller than he normally does.
Did you see the picture?
I think he's a middleweight, to be honest.
There was a picture of him training because he went over to Connecticut, right, with Glover.
To Alex.
There's a picture of him with Alex Pereira, and Alex is way bigger than him. Like, not even close. He's way bigger than him. So maybe he goes down to middleweight. The scary thing though is after that Jan Blachowicz loss, he took a lot of time off, and he talked about how he was having issues from the knockout, like head issues, like brain issues. Mm-hmm. He takes a lot of time out. He fights Yidri Prochazka, gets completely flatlined by him. Had moments in that fight, but got flatlined at the end of it. And if you're already having head trauma problems, you don't want to add that. And then he comes back and fights Ryan Spann, and every single time, every time Ryan hit him, he was hurt. So it's tough. I honestly at this point, as a fan of him, I just don't really want to see him fight again. Even if he goes down to middleweight, I just don't think. I don't know. I don't really want to see it again.
I don't want to see him at lightweight at all, or light heavyweight.
Light heavyweight, yeah, definitely not. Yeah. Definitely not. If he's gonna fight, he should fight at middleweight. George says, "Has there been a worse downfall after a title fight? Probably Cody Garbrandt."
Cody, 100%.
Yeah, those are the two, right? And HW Comer Fatzula, maybe that's a good choice too. Because man, to go from almost finishing Izzy on the feet to where Gaslam's at right now is tough. Ramiro says it was fun while it lasted. I think Dom retires. Shout out to Ramiro. Can't be here, but somehow is here. Just kidding. But yeah, I don't want to see it again. And with that, do you have anything else with that one?
No. That's pretty much it.
Props to Ryan Spann.
Yeah,
he was good.
Yeah, good friend.
So moving on, Erin Blanchfield versus Molly McCann. This is one.
I was on my wrong page when I said fire the management. This is the one that should fire.
I was going to say, team.
Yeah.
I was going to say, this is
McCann. Why did you take this fight? Dude, what in the world are you thinking?
McCann has had up until this point fantastic management, fantastic to fight Ji Young Kim, Luana Carolina, Hannah Goldie. I was like, man, just keep the fun going because when she gets these finishes, she's fun. She's fun on the mic. Give her favorable matchups because she's not going to be a champ. And like this, what are we doing? Why are we doing this?
You can make her people's champ, but not this way.
Exactly. And it's like, okay, when you look at Molly McCann, don't give her a wrestler because when she gets taken down and she's on her back, she does not know what to do. She's not good off her back. She's just not. And then you give her someone like Erin Blanchfield, who is incredible on top. Like when they made this match, I was like, well, there goes the hype train on Molly.
Also, Blanchfield doesn't give a shit. Like she's not going to go in there like, oh yeah, I'll fight him just because like I want an exciting fight too. No.
I'll fight her fight.
I'm going to break her arm off.
Yeah.
Like if she didn't tap that Kimura she's going to break her arm.
It was bad. It was bad, dude. It was super bad. I don't know how she didn't tap earlier, to be honest. But yeah, George says hype got to her head. Maybe. I don't know why she took this fight. HLB Comer says Erin is a problem, but Molly needed a bit of humble pie. Yeah, and this should be a reminder that Molly should be here for fun fights.
Yes.
kind of like Patty. Like Patty's not going to be fighting guys like Michael Chandler, you know? Like, no. But throw him in there against Luigi, who gets cut right after, and I'm here for it. We don't need everybody to be fighting it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, at least
just
not
to
right
give
now.
Molly fun fights. Yeah, not right now.
At least till they prove something different.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe this is what they were looking for. They wanted Molly to prove that she could fight off her back but she can't. So, Erin Blanchfield.
So we all move on
right through her. Yeah, exactly. So the next one we will cover, we're skipping the Petrosky fight. So we'll cover Matt Frevola versus the Potato Bandit, Ottman Azaitar.
Yeah, the best walkout song in the night.
Yeah, seriously, like,
dude.
I was literally just this past weekend, I was at my dad's house, and he's a baseball fan, right? But he doesn't really follow it like super hard right now, or lately these past few years. But Edwin Diaz, the closer for the Mets, just signed like $100 million deal for the Mets because he just had one of the best closer years in baseball history since Mariano Rivera. And he walked out to this song, right? The Timmy Trumpets. There's a video. It's a great video if you want to watch it, because the closer just, if you don't watch baseball, the closer just comes in for the ninth inning to finish they just need to get 3 outs. They come in, shut it down, and then they go home and they make $1 million. And Edwin Diaz did that better than anybody last year. And he walked out to this song. The trumpets are going all crazy in the Mets stadium. They had one where Timmy Trumpets was actually there. They got a mic on his trumpet. He's playing it live while he walks out. Never seen anything like it in baseball. It's not something that baseball is so like old school and like the history and like you know what I mean. So for them to do that, it's special. Matt Frevola, he's from New York. They're fighting in New York, so he's a big Mets fan. So he walks out to Edwin Diaz's walkout, and immediately I was like, I should have picked Matt Frevola. God damn it! And then he comes out and just perfect nickname. Steamrolls him. Yeah, just perfect nickname, perfect walkout.
Azaitar being a little weird, coming in with his chin up and just like straightforward. He doesn't tend to do that. He was just going straight in and straight out a lot.
I think he believes his own hype a little too much.
Yeah, and Matt did not give a single fuck.
Yeah, he was like, "Oh, you're just gonna run at me swinging? I'm just gonna clock you. I'm just gonna stay in tight." That little right hook that he landed, it was like almost like a shovel hook with his back against the cage. Just clicked him real quick, and then he hits the big one, and
that big left, just boom.
Yeah, it was. Out cold. Out cold. I think this is one where he fell and his arm was like outstretched.
Yep.
Yeah, just fantastic knockout for Matt Frevola. And speaking of Patty, calls out Patty again. If you haven't seen Matt Frevola's video call out with Patty, he puts a wig on and stuff. And he's an interesting guy, man. He's a character. And he puts on fun fights.
Yep. I mean, even when he got knocked out immediately, it's still a fun fight.
Still a fun fight. Win or lose. So, yeah, we'll move on to the next one. We're going to skip Carolina. Congrats for her getting a win. Actually, we should probably touch on that a little bit because it has probably the funniest, most insane thing I've seen in a while, where they're about
the scorecard.
They're about to cover who wins the fight, and then an official runs in the cage and grabs it from Bruce Buffer and was like, "Wait!" And they're like writing on it and stuff. And they're like, "Wait, are you just switching who won? Like, what are you doing?" And apparently, the judges, and for like 10 minutes, they're like waiting for the decision. And shout out Rich.
Women just standing there in the middle, just like
they're just waiting, and they cover the judges are like writing a bunch of shit, and you're like, what are they doing? How it's a 3-round fight? Like, how do you fuck this up? And then it turns out they got the names wrong on the scorecard, so it was flipped, and it's like, dude, how
that
hard
could have been so bad.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? And who knows if that's what who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, my biggest thing is like anytime you let the government do something, they're gonna fuck it up.
Yeah, and New York has proven that every single event.
Every single event. NSAC has screwed the pooch in some way or fashion.
Yeah, it's tough. But shout out to Carolina. It was a fun fight. The last 2 rounds were pretty fun.
Yep.
But yeah, so we'll move on to my favorite fight
Trizano,
of the
Choi.
card. Chandler versus Dustin definitely deserved fight of the night, but for some reason the Trizano versus Seung Choi was my favorite.
Unfortunate he missed weight because he deserved.
I think they both deserve a bonus for this fight, honestly.
That double knockdown.
They come out. Was it like the first exchange? They both land shots on each other and drop each other.
It was the third exchange.
So yeah, just double knockdown. They both sit right back down. They both get right back up. And Seung Choi, his left hook is so good, but he kind of just relies on it a little too much. They were both cracking each other. I could not believe with 9 seconds left, Trizano gets the finish. But if you didn't watch this fight, definitely go back and watch it because it was pure entertainment. Just two guys swinging and banging, cracking each other, dropping each other. Such a fun fight. I think Seung Choi hurt him a little bit and thought he hurt him more than he did. He blitzed him a little bit, and Trizano did well because a lesser guy would have just crumbled to that pressure probably and just kind of
wouldn't have engaged on it and would have just let him come forward.
Exactly, but Trizano stayed composed and did what he had to do to kind of survive that barrage and really not take much damage in it, and then just kind of stayed disciplined and got the knockout.
Yeah, and then I think John Anik probably was the most excited for this fight because Trizano told him, yeah, dude, talk about my kid. And dude, John definitely talked about your kid.
Yeah, he's got a kid coming at Fabio Weili. I was all stoked. Anytime John Anik can talk about kids, he's going to.
Yeah, and then anytime a man's got a mullet, bro, don't take his America hat from him. Bad things will happen to somebody.
Yeah. Pretty funny though, him talking about you can't take my American flag. We're strong as he's like on the verge of tears.
Yeah. As our country's on the verge of collapse.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean that's pretty much it that I have for that one. But a very fun fight. Sucks to see Seung Choi lose, but man, that guy's in fun fights every time.
That is a beautiful shot right there.
Yeah,
UFC needs to start giving credit to their photographers.
They do. We just we don't. Montel Jackson versus Julio Arce. We're gonna skip. Montel's got fun hands, but needs to do more with it.
Yeah.
But Carlos Ulberg versus Nicolae.
Setting the night off right.
Carlos Ulberg, I think, had for some reason the harshest reaction for someone making their debut because he was so hyped up by Izzy, right? And he kind of had a little bit of a lackluster fight in that first fight, even though he almost starched the guy, but he kind of gassed out. But that's just inexperience. And everybody just completely wrote him off after that. But he's clearly incredibly talented. He is very talented. And I don't know why everybody wrote him off because this was a masterclass.
I think City Kickboxing has this stigma of like all of their fighters sort of like affect one another. So like whenever Volk or Izzy are in downfall with the fans or whatever, or the media, that's sort of like everybody else gets affected. Exactly. Like Brad kind of got that. And then Blood Diamond got that on his last fight where Izzy was hyping him super hard and then he lost and everyone was like, see, Izzy, you gotta shut up, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And everyone was sort of jumping on Blood, even though I mean he didn't really do anything wrong.
No, they gave him I don't know why they gave him a jiu-jitsu black belt in his first fight, but whatever. But props to Ulberg because this dude could not miss. Nicolae,
that jousting sort of thing he was doing with his hand was really smart, especially with somebody he knew wanted to shoot in all the time because like
come forward.
Even if you're not going to drop your hips, you can just bring your hand down. And I mean, just having your hand there is a defense on its own for a shot.
Yeah. And it lines up the cross, right? It lines up the two right behind it. But yeah, he could not miss. And when he dropped him, the follow-up shots that he landed, it looked like something out of a movie. Like there's a picture I think here where Nicolae is trying to get back up and move away, and he's literally like diving at him. He lands this punch. Lands this punch clean. Man, the dude had magnet in his hands. I mean, look at that.
And it was very interesting how like he had the right hand cocked the whole time, but what ended up like doing it was just like the lead and then the boom and then the boom. It was all his front hand. So it was like almost like, hey, look at this, boom.
Yeah, fantastic striking from him. And like you said, good matchup for him. Nicolae, it's just going to keep coming at you, coming forward. So someone like Ulberg, at least if he can use his footwork to create the distance and create the space, he's going to light you up. And I mean, I don't know why. I mean, I do know why. Like you said, it's because of Izzy's fan base and then the Izzy haters. But I don't know why anybody would write this guy off after one loss, especially when he almost KO'd the guy in that loss.
He's also a giant. Like when he was walking around the cage, he's literally like the cage is like here.
Yeah,
that man's giant.
And not to mention, his only loss was that fight, and it was his UFC debut. Like, this guy, I think, is very promising.
There's a lot of credence to like going to a new environment, like a new promotion, and just like even if it's not the UFC, like just anything new is just a big change.
Yeah, and then especially imagine it's a new thing, the bright lights, right? UFC, you have a ton of hype on you because the champ is hyping you up, and then you almost finish the guy, but then he comes back and survives that, and then you're like, oh shit,
Yep.
here I am. Like, what's gonna happen next?
Yeah.
But that's the whole card.
We did it.
We did it.
We don't need Romero.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll move on. I don't know if this is right, but I can't remember it, so maybe it is. But Tapology does not have any fights that got canceled on this card. No fights fell through.
Oh.
That seems crazy.
Well, there was like 15 fights, so I mean, it's
crazy. You think there's 15 fights, you think one of them falls through, especially with all the weight misses. There was what, three weight misses too?
I believe no, there was going to be 3, and then Alex came in with literally like 2 minutes left and reweighed. And then somebody on the undercard or somebody who wasn't a main event didn't know that you couldn't come back and reweigh. So they came at the beginning. Yeah, he came at the beginning and just sort of shot himself in the foot.
Yeah. I mean, again, New York, just fucking absolutely insane. So we had performance bonuses, right? So Pereira gets a 50K bonus for knocking out Izzy. Zhang Weili gets one for choking out Carla and putting an end to her super crazy title defenses, her title run, her reign on the division. And then Dustin Poirier gets fight of the night over Michael Chandler. They both got 50K for that one. Both deserve that. That was a crazy fight. Man, has Chandler gotten a bonus in every? I think every fight that Chandler has been in has gotten a bonus. Obviously,
but he hasn't gotten a bonus for every fight.
Yeah. He didn't get it against Charlie Oliveira.
Yeah,
but like, I think every fight he's been in has gotten a bonus. It's just crazy.
Correct.
Yeah. HLB Comer says, "Did you catch the Megan Sanko Kraus drama?" TMZ will.
Yes, I did.
Yes. That's been a long time coming. That's been talked about a lot on the MMA scene about how Megan allegedly slept with James Krause, even though Krause is married, and his wife is very good friends with Laura Sanko. And then now Megan is saying that Laura Sanko slept with James Krause. James Krause is just out here betting on fights, just cheating on his wife, just doing the damn thing.
But man, does he make champions?
Yeah, he's a great coach. But well, if you're Megan, you're saying he's not a great coach because she's saying that all she got was pad work. But it's like at the same time, maybe you need to take some ownership on that. If you have a title fight against Amanda Nunes, and you're only getting pad work and no one's getting your sparring partners, I think that's kind of on you to be like, hey, I need more than this. I'm gonna go get more than this.
Yeah, or just like I could see a lot of situations where it's like they both just don't want to step on each other's toes. Like, James and the coaching staff are just sitting there like, oh, well, she's an adult. If this is how she trains, this is how she trains. And she probably is like grown up like, okay, I'm going to do what my coaches tell me, but the coaches aren't telling her anything. It's just sort of like they're both waiting for each other. Yeah.
What did she say? Or who was it? Who was the fighter that was Jeff Molina? I think. Yeah, he put out a statement too saying, look, that's 100% on you. You're the only one with the problem here, basically. And you accepted your loss the second you signed that fight and never actually tried and basically just walked into that fight knowing you were going to lose. So you didn't put any effort into the training camp. So big drama show.
Yep. Lots of lots.
Show. Fun stuff. Next week,
we can all take a break because there's only one fight on.
Is it
Derek Lewis and Spivak?
Yeah, great fight, honestly. I really, really like Spivak. He's a fun guy.
Really? I am not a big fan.
No?
No, like
I like him.
I just feel like he comes in with like this attitude of like, oh, I don't really care about this. And just like there's some moments in some of these fights where I just feel like there's like a lack of effort in some of these situations where he kind of just accepts being in certain positions. And I don't know, maybe it's because he's a heavyweight and there's just like a different energy like a different amount of energy. But I don't know. I just
Yeah.
never liked his energy or his attitude.
Yeah, I can see that. I think it's gonna be a fun fight. I think he's gonna probably use wrestling more against Derek Lewis. We'll see how that works. You also got Kennedy and Zejiku versus Iwan Kujalaba. That's a decent fight. Chase Sherman's on the card against Cortez Acosta. Wait, what? Didn't he just fight Cortez Acosta? He just fought October 29th. He's stepping in there again. What the hell? That's crazy. Muslim Salikov versus Andre Fiallo. That's a great fight.
That is a good fight. Shout out.
Yeah. We got Cody Brundage versus Rodolfo Vieira. I'll always step in and watch Vieira. Brundage is a very good wrestler, so it's going to be interesting to see how that jiu-jitsu works in MMA against a top pressure wrestler like Brundage. Jack Della versus Danny Roberts. Jack Della is must-watch TV. Never miss a fight. Ricky Tercios on the card. Hopefully he can start landing punches. That's about it.
Yeah.
Cool. That's about it. Thank you, Toasty, for coming on. We got an interview with him recorded. It just needs to be finished editing. It's close, so we'll get that posted. Congrats on your win and your second belt a couple weekends ago. Again, thank you for coming on. Don't forget, like, subscribe, do all that stuff. We're trying to get to 2,000 subs. We're at like 1,730 or something like that, so we're close. We're live every Sunday, 9 a.m. Follow us on social media at Story of the Fight on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Reddit, Twitch. Our podcast is everywhere. StoryoftheFight.com. Thank you.
Yeah, hell yeah.
This podcast was produced by Rich Bustos.